Beam me up on the mammast of all mama shit.
Hey, I'm looking through my telescope and I see a mothership. Is that you? Beam me up.
Hey, DA, I'm thirsty, man. Can you beam me up for a cold one?
Hey, DA, what's going on, baby? Stop me off and beam me up. Yay, what's the silly? Oh, permission to get in that mothership.
Is my window seat still available? Beam me up.
What's going on, DA? Hey, man, I need you to do me a huge favor. My co-worker's a jerk. So just beam me up, man.
Get beamed up. Everyone else has. It's DA on CBS Sports Radio.
And we come to you live from the Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loan Studios. These are challenging times. Rocket Mortgage is prepared to help. If you need mortgage assistance, contact their team 24/7, rocketmortgage.com. From their home to yours, the team at Rocket Mortgage is with you. Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday to you. Coming up in about 20 minutes from now, we've got little sound check, your best audio of the day. And in 40 minutes, this date in mothership history. These are stressful times. These are anxious times. And there's a lot of bad news when you wake up every single day, bad news when you go to bed. So we here on the DA Show like to take moments to highlight good stories, feel-good stories, things that will give you hope in the world, will give you optimism in people, and make you remember that we have some amazing people around us. Bryce Weiler is one of those people. He was born without sight, and he has crafted an amazing career for himself. He developed himself into a sportscaster, having called basketball, baseball games, college basketball games, minor league baseball games. He's also been hired by the Baltimore Orioles to help with disabled fans in the ballpark and around sports to enhance their experiences. He is the co-founder of a nonprofit organization called the Beautiful Lives Project. And Bryce joins us this morning here on the show. Bryce, good morning.
Hi, Damon. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
My pleasure, buddy. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you do, and thanks so much for getting up early with us. So you have been a sports fan for a long time. You and I spoke, and you said that it was the radio broadcasts of sporting events that really drew you in. What was your experiences like? Where'd you grow up, to tell the listeners, and what type of broadcast sporting events did you listen to, and announcers did you listen to?
Growing up in the Midwest, listening to Brian Barnhart commentating sports, as well as Don Fisher for the Indiana Hoosiers and Mike Shannon for the St. Louis Cardinals. Those were really three broadcasters who I enjoyed listening to growing up, and they really brought pictures into my head of the games happening on the court or the field. And through those pictures, I wanted to be able to give back and to be a part of sports.
What was it like as a young boy such as yourself that didn't have the benefit of sight, but to have people like those broadcasters you're mentioning kind of write a picture, paint a picture in your mind's eye about what was going on outside of your door and in these ballparks and stadiums?
Anytime when I'm listening to a game on the radio, whether it was 15 to 20 years ago or now, I'm able to get a picture of the game happening on the court or the field, what's happening in the crowd, what's happening in the dugout, what's happening on the bench or the sideline. So radio broadcasts really paint the picture for me.
You know, it's interesting because while we don't do play-by-play, radio is such an imagination station, which is why I love doing it. This show has been, I think, fun for us to do, but also fun for listeners because if you do paint a picture, it's all in your imagination, in your mind's eye, and that's a really cool thing. How powerful is radio as a medium for things like that?
Radio is important because you have one, maybe a few more people sometimes telling their stories of their lives or talking about an event they were in or something they did on the previous day, and the listeners get to think of themselves in that own situation or think about how it might have looked when someone got a big surprise or got a new job when they're talking about that on the radio and how their family were so excited and gathering around and jumped and hugged them.
Bryce Weiler is the co-founder of a nonprofit called the Beautiful Lives Project. He joins us this morning here on the show. So you end up going to college, Evansville University in Indiana, and you are a big sports fan. And you develop a relationship with their head coach and eventually are allowed by the coach to sit on the bench. Is that right?
At the University of Evansville, the former Aces head men's basketball coach, Marty Simmons, gave me the opportunity to sit on his basketball bench for the entire 4 years I was there as a student from 2010 through 2014. And that really changed my life because I was able to be around sports, shoot free throws before the game, visit with coaches, sit on the bench, and really do things in my life that I did not think that I would be able to do since I cannot see.
So you end up beginning to call games, and you've developed a career doing that, and you've called college basketball and other events and baseball as well. And people might say, well, how do you do that without being able to see the games themselves? But for you, it's all about research. It's all about talking to players and managers. How much of talking to the players and managers informs you every single day, and what does that day look like preparing for a broadcast?
Talking to the players, managers, and coaches really helps me, and I normally would talk to them maybe 2 hours before the game to 90 minutes before the game, whether it's on the basketball bench or in the dugout. And then for the previous 3 to 4 days before that point in time, I would spend 3 to 4 hours every day reading facts on the individuals taking part in the game, listening to their previous couple of games, and studying the style of the play-by-play broadcaster I'm working with to see how he or she does a game broadcast, to see whether or not the broadcaster leaves a lot of silence in the game, or if some points where I would typically speak, I should stay quiet so the fans can hear the sound of the crowd and whatever game I might be commentating.
I'd like you to be the consultant for Booger McFarland or some other color commentators on radio and TV that always step on top of their play-by-play guys and don't actually add anything interesting, because everything you're saying is right on the money. So you've had that amazing career, but you've also worked now with teams, and you've got the Beautiful Lives Project, and this is trying to help bridge the gap between those that are disabled and have special challenges around the sports atmosphere, the sports experience and environment. Specifically, what does the Beautiful Lives Project aim to do?
The Beautiful Lives Project gives individuals of all disabled groups the opportunity to live their dreams in programs with sports, cheerleading, the art, ballet, dance, many categories where they're able to play with sports teams, whether that's college, high school, professional, all across the country. We're always looking for more individuals to start chapters of the Beautiful Lives Project to help us by investing in smiles. And if people want to look at our website, it's www.beautifullives.org. They can sign up to help, volunteer, or contact any of our staff.
Beautifullives.org is the website for more information, beautifullives.org. This is such a wonderful time to think about others. You know, you are the disability advocate for the Baltimore Orioles, and it would be great if more teams, more organizations had a consultant such as yourself. What are the types of things that you encourage the Orioles to look at and try to change?
With my work with Baltimore, I have helped them make both their spring training stadium, Ed Smith Stadium, and their home field of Camden Yards more accessible for fans of all disabled groups. When Baltimore became the first team in sports to wear Braille on its jerseys during a game in September 2018, I helped out with that game. We had some fans come to the Orioles game that evening who were blind, so I put food menus into Braille, made sure that their guide dogs had a place to use the bathroom. And I've also given fans of all disabled groups the opportunity to play on the field with the Orioles players and coaches before some home games at Camden Yards last season during the 2019 season in September.
What was that experience like to have, like you said, those from disabled groups able to play on the same field and converse and meet some members of the Baltimore Orioles?
It was such a dream for those fans and such a dream for the Orioles staff, players, and coaches who were out there, because all the groups came together as a cohesive unit, and they were able to realize that people of so many different backgrounds and walks of life could come together, play sports, and make lifelong friendships that can last forever. And that's the point of the work I do with the sports teams and with my nonprofit, the Beautiful Lives Project. We want to make lifelong friendships, break down barriers and stereotypes, and create friendships that can last forever.
Bryce Weiler is making the world a better place. He's an amazing dude. And the Beautiful Lives Project, find more information. BeautifulLives.org is the website, BeautifulLives.org. Every interview that I've read, story about you, and quotes from coaches that you've worked with, people that you've worked with, players that you've worked with, always say you are one of the most optimistic and hardworking guys that they've ever come across. Where did you get those qualities from, to be always looking at the bright side of things and hoping for the best, but also to be as hardworking and never take no for an answer attitude?
I've been so fortunate in my life, being born 4 months premature. Many of the doctors did not think that I would live past that point, and being thankful to have this opportunity to be alive every day. I want to be able to give back to others and to help them overcome the obstacles and challenges they're facing throughout their lives, and to give back to all of the people who helped me in college or throughout my life. If it wasn't for students who helped me in college with getting my food in the cafeteria, or shooting free throws with me, or teaching me routes to my various classes in college, I wouldn't have been able to make it through. So I always try to help others, and don't let someone telling me no stand in the way of my dreams, because people like that are just trying to hold you back from your dreams.
BeautifulLives.org is the website, BeautifulLives.org. What do you think is the biggest, most important change that professional sports can make right now to help out disabled groups?
Sports teams as a whole can work to help individuals from every disabled group, not just picking one or two disabled groups that a sports team wants to highlight, but working with the 6, 7, 8, 9 various disabled groups and types of people who could come to games, because everyone is important, no matter if they're in a wheelchair, autism, blind, deaf, or having some other things in their life. You shouldn't just pick whatever your favorite group is to work with, or the one that can get you the most media time or things like that, because every person is important and they're all different, and that's okay.
And it strikes me that sporting events are a great communal center for those with disabilities, because you have a lot of people around that are in a good spirit. You have a lot of energy. You have an experience that you don't normally get inside the house, totally different from that. So a sporting event, a sporting experience must be pretty important in terms of a development and an experience for a lot of different groups with disabilities. Would that be true?
It can be very important, because so often many people who are blind or whatever the case might be do not really have the opportunity to make it out of the house, because it's hard for them to get transportation and things such as that. But there's normally a good transportation line heading towards some of these large stadiums in these cities, or they can go with a friend. So it can really be the one maybe moment in their week or their day that can really change their life and can make them feel a part of the world as a whole.
BeautifulLives.org is the website, BeautifulLives.org. Go to the website, check it out, read about it, learn more about Bryce, learn more about the organization, learn more about what we can do with people with disabilities in the sports world and beyond. He is an amazing guy. It is so cool to have him here on the show. Bryce, I applaud you and admire you for all the work you put in already, man. It was so good to have you here on the show today. We've got to do this again. I love having you here on the show. I love your message, and I really appreciate you spending time with us today.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me on. And if people want to contact me, they can do that at Bryce@BeautifulLives.org, Bryce@BeautifulLives.org.
The website again, BeautifulLives.org. He is Bryce Weiler. Thanks, Bryce.
Thanks, Damon. Talk to you soon.
Okay. There are, in the middle of this pandemic, in the middle of these difficult times, in the middle of so much negativity, you got to remember there's great stories happening. There's great people out there. We are surrounded by greatness constantly. And Bryce Weiler is one of those guys. Born without sight, born 4 months premature. And this is a guy that has pushed forward and changed the lives of those that are disabled. He is an amazing guy, and I'm so thankful that we could have him on the show and share his story and remind you that good things are happening, good people are out there, and they are working and they are pushing and they are doing amazing things, and it should inspire all of us to be able to do amazing things as well. So I really feel very lucky and fortunate that Bryce could join us on the show this morning. 855-212-4CBS, the phone number. 855-212-4227. On Twitter, DA on CBS. Coming up a little bit later on in the show, Brandon League is going to join us. Former Major League Baseball closer and all-star. He's going to drop on by. We'll ask him, what's it like to try to get going after a long layoff like this for baseball players, specifically pitchers? What's that going to look like? And also, a little bit later on in the show, we'll talk about Jameis Winston and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is there a fit there where Jameis, who's a free agent right now, should be signed by Pittsburgh to back up Ben and eventually become the heir apparent to Roethlisberger? We'll talk about that as well. Last night was also the final episode of Modern Family, a long-running, successful sitcom, 11 seasons for Modern Family. It caused Mraz, of course, to start blubbering like a wimp last night because he always gets emotional over things like this. But we're looking at Ed O'Neill, who played the dad, Jay Pritchett, in this show, who originally was Al Bundy. So did Ed O'Neill, after the Al Bundy decade with Married with Children, need Jay Pritchett and Modern Family to cement his legacy? Or, Mraz, was Al Bundy's legacy already set in stone?
I actually think there's a lot of parallels here, DA, to something we just went over back in January. I think Ed O'Neill with just Al Bundy is Andy Reid without the Chiefs Super Bowl.
Huh.
And I think Modern Family is Andy Reid winning this past Super Bowl.
Really?
I do. So here, look, when you think Ed O'Neill, I think there's no doubt in my mind the character's name that comes to mind is Al Bundy before Jay Pritchett.
Yes.
But when you think Ed O'Neill, I think the show name that comes to mind is Modern Family before Married with Children. But Ed O'Neill as Al Bundy, I mean, when you hear people talk, they usually say, oh, yeah, I'm watching Al Bundy. They don't say I'm watching Married with Children. The character, to me, was bigger than the show. And that is a credit to Ed O'Neill, whereas the roster, the depth on Modern Family, I mean, you could ask 10 people who are Modern Family fans their favorite character, and you get 10 different answers. Modern Family was such a deep talent pool of a roster, and it didn't center around one person, that I think Jay Pritchett as a character and Ed O'Neill was just added to that. But that was a show that won him his Emmys, that won him his Screen Actor Guild Award. He didn't win anything. He was just nominated for a couple of Golden Globes with Married with Children, but he's still remembered as Al Bundy. Now, he did get a Hollywood Walk of Fame star in 2011, just 2 seasons into Modern Family. He does not receive that Walk of Fame with just Modern Family. That is something because he was Al Bundy, and that's who he's remembered for.
You think he does not get the Walk of Fame based only on Al Bundy?
I think that he needed this show a little versatility, and he had through 2 of what were the most watched seasons for the first 2 years of a program in Modern Family. So I do think the legacy cemented there with Modern Family. But when you think about him, and ultimately the passage of time thinks about him, you will say the name Al Bundy before you do Jay Pritchett.
I would agree with that. I don't know. I think he might deserve a Walk of Fame honor even just for Al Bundy. That's sitcom dad, 10 seasons. That's a long-running sitcom and a very iconic sitcom.
Does Kevin James deserve one for what the heck was the first show? I already forgot. He's the UPS driver. Does he deserve that?
King of Queens.
King of Queens. I mean, because King of Queens and Kevin James, I mean, that's kind of what you're looking at with an Al Bundy. That's a comp. Yeah. I think Kevin James needed to do a lot more than that.
No, well, I actually think, and I'm not a huge Kevin James guy, I think Kevin James deserved a Walk of Fame star just for King of Queens. I think that's an iconic character.
So Kevin Garnett can't have his number retired by the Celtics, but you think Kevin James for King of Queens deserves a Walk of Fame star? Man, you are all over the place with where you're setting the bar here.
Let's go back.
It's the Walk of Fame.
Married with Children. Have you ever seen it? It's on dirty LA streets. It's not even that cool. Let's go back to Married with Children. Who is the second best character in Married with Children? Obviously, Al Bundy is number 1. Is it Peg Bundy? Is it Kelly Bundy, played by a young Christina Applegate? Is it Bud Bundy, David Faustino? Could it be Buck the dog? Could it be one of the neighbors, Marcy Darcy or Jefferson Darcy?
Look, Christina Applegate had a great career after this.
An amazing career.
A lot of good movies.
Still having it.
Right. It's Peg Bundy, but the fact remains that Married with Children team is LeBron in the finals with Matthew Dellavedova and Tristan Thompson. That's the deal. Al
You're
Bundy,
giving no respect to Katie Seagal?
I can't in there. No, I can't. That team was led by, and that's why the show, when you ask people, like if my grandparents still love this, say I'm watching Al Bundy, they won't say I'm watching Modern Family. He dragged the corpses of the rest of that crew to respectability in a long-running series. That is all about Ed O'Neill.
That's not fair. Christina Applegate has had an amazing film career still going on.
She has.
And Katie Seagal was the mom in 8 Simple Rules. She's had a pretty decent career as well.
Decent, D.A. Tristan Thompson has had a decent career as well.
I don't think it's fair to say that Al Bundy was LeBron of the 07 Cavaliers.
I do think so. And I think LeBron going to play with Wade and Bosch with the Heat is what he had in Modern Family. That's what Ed O'Neill had in Modern Family. It's an unbelievable cast. He never played with a Sofia Vergara on Married with Children. That's Dwayne Wade.
Man, so you're telling me that Katie Seagal's no better than like a Larry Hughes on the 07 Cavaliers.
Basically.
And
yeah, I think Larry Hughes is a perfect guy.
And Marcy Darcy is Zadrunas Ilgauskas, basically?
Yes. And look, Zadrunas will get his number retired by the Cavs. And I'm sure the production crew feels that way about Married with Children. But Ed O'Neill put on a clinic as Al Bundy. That's what he's going to be remembered as that. That is his best work, but his best team, and what he's going to be remembered for the most titles for is Modern Family, which are the Heat.
I got to tell you, I would love to see his Polk High School highlights. I mean, if we could just find Al Bundy on YouTube, all of his Polk High School highlights.
Right. You could get Al Bundy Polk High School jerseys. You're not getting a Jay Pritchett Kane. I mean,
That's a great point. It's a great point. When we come back here on the show, we've got your best audio of the day as part of Sound Check, and that includes Scott Hansen on unhealthy bathroom habits while hosting the Red Zone channel. DA, CBS Sports Radio.
It's the show about the show. Here's the best of this week's Permission Granted podcast.
These kids walk up to Wrigley Field when they show up for that game like they've never seen Wrigley Field in their life. I don't know. I think if you've been to Cubs games and you've grown up, you don't keep showing up to the ballpark and go, whoa, it's Wrigley Field. You just were there. That's how he got signed. What are we so surprised by the stadium for?
I have to say, you're great at this. The fact that you can get so wound up over Martinella's managing is just side-splittingly funny.
Find the PGP every week on radio.com, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere else podcasts are downloaded.
Check it out. This week's PGP, a deeper dive into Get Your Popcorn Ready. It's the mothership at the movies featuring Rookie of the Year, which we broke down yesterday. Available all places podcasts are downloaded. Read tweets in DA as the years went on. I found myself slipping into Jay Pritchett more and more. But yes, he'll always be Al Bundy to me and the voice of Straight Talk cell phones. Dixieland Dan tweets, Modern Family hasn't changed the fact that Ed O'Neill was, and always will be Al Bundy, regardless of whatever else he's in. Al Bundy was so good he could single-handedly turn around the Cleveland Browns. Last night, final episode of Modern Family, and we're asking whether Ed O'Neill needed that to cement his legacy after his decade run as Al Bundy on Married with Children. 855-212-4CBS. 855-212-4227 on Twitter, DA on CBS. And tonight, starting at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, the Inside College Football crew gets you ready for the upcoming NFL Draft as they break down the blue chippers and speculate on the game's next superstars. Only on the CBS Sports Network. CBS Spectacular, yeah! It's time for your best audio of the day. It's time for Sound Check.
CBS presents this program in color.
An educated person can't think he's going to get a recruit by strippers coming in.
They can fire you, but they can't eat you.
And they run through our ass like through a tin horn, man, and we could not stop them.
The audio you need to hear. It's DA's Sound Check.
Scott Hansen, Andrew Siciliano, both the hosts of Red Zone channel, have a very important challenge every Sunday. Try to hold it in. Here was Scott Hansen on with Zach Gelb last night here on CBS Sports Radio.
I don't like to eat or drink when I do this show. Do you at all eat or drink at times during Red Zone?
Usually not. 7-hour show, no commercial breaks. I have only taken one bathroom break in the last 7+ seasons. I get into the zone. I eat a big breakfast in the morning, and then I cut off my liquids about 3 hours before the show. And then my stage manager, Rhoda Gilmore, she's the best. She hands me, I'm like a caged zoo animal. She gives me a banana and a bottle of water. The banana is for potassium if I need a little energy, and then some potassium to avoid cramping up because I get so dehydrated doing the show because I don't drink any water. And then the water is if, I happen to get some dry mouth or something like that, and I just have to take a tiny, tiny sip to wet my whistle, I will. But most of the time, the banana goes uneaten, and a lot of the times the water, I barely even crack the surface of that. So I am compromising my bladder for you folks to give you 60, 70 touchdowns every single Sunday in the fall. I hope people appreciate it.
You know what? I made a mistake here. We should have used this as an entire talk topic instead of just sound check. This is a huge talk topic, Mraz. Number one, have you ever gone 8 hours without going to the bathroom once?
I've already gone 3 times since the show started.
I mean, what Scott Hansen is telling us is that from like noon until 7 p.m. Eastern time or 12:30 until 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, he does not go to the bathroom.
I don't know
every
how you
week
do that.
For years. That seems humanly impossible. Number two, while you broadcast, you constantly need water. I know I do. I constantly need to wet my whistle to stay lubricated because if you get dry mouth from talking a lot, I mean, I would challenge anybody right now listening, after the show is done sometime today, just try to talk for 10 minutes straight and don't stop. Just try. You could talk about anything. You can sing. You could just talk gibberish. But for 10 minutes straight, try to just talk in a row and tell me that you don't need a drink of water after that. Now think about doing that for 7 hours. I mean, I do that for 4 hours. Of course, we have interviews and, we have commercial breaks, but you're talking for 10 to 12 minutes on end constantly. How could you not need a glass of water? Also, Scott Hansen's not eating the banana? That's a bad job by Scott. He needs the potassium right there. 7 hours, he's not eating anything? That seems incredibly dangerous to his body.
And it would seem like you could use good landmarkers, right? Like once you get past the wild finishes of the early games,
yes,
you kind of settle in end of first quarter. That to me would be a benchmark to go, okay, have
yes,
the banana now.
I always thought this was the way that it went. When they cut away to some of the full games late and they go there for like, let's say 90 seconds, 2 minutes of a game, I always thought that's when they duck out, go to the bathroom and come back. Scott Hansen saying he never ducks off of mic and never leaves the studio. I mean, for me, commercial breaks, you get 4 or 5 minutes, boom, you're back, you're fine. I always thought that's how they handled it. Is it possible Scott Hansen, 7 hours, never leaves that room?
I don't know if he could have done that in the first 2 years. He obviously had to train his body, but I will tell you this. I don't know where my career takes me. There is no chance I'm ever doing that job because I wouldn't be able to do it. I would be basically, everybody in the red zone wild finish going, I got to go. Sorry, I'm out of here. And I'd be looking for cheeseburger deliveries during the fourth quarter of the early games. Is he nuts not eating that banana?
And, I mean, to be fair, and I love Scott Hansen. We've had him on the show before. I love the red zone. Him and Siciliano do amazing work. They are really amazing types of resources for football fans. But, I mean, it's not like you're a surgeon in the middle of brain surgery for 7 hours. You can leave. I mean, it's
right.
okay. It's okay. The Bengals and Steelers will still be going on when you come back. You can go to the bathroom. It's gonna be okay. We're just gonna cut to that game full, because he doesn't talk over every single play. They just cut to games. Give him a 2-minute block of, Titans Colts and let him go to the bathroom.
And not only that, a half an hour before, all he has to do is record the following liners for every game. And we cut away to Falcons Saints. And that's all you need to do if he needs a 5-minute, situation where maybe there's got to be a number 2 or something like that. And then that's all you got to play as the directors and stuff cut to the games. That's it. It seems pretty easy to me. You don't got to be a hero here holding your black. Can't be healthy.
occasionally they cut to games and he doesn't even do a toss.
Right.
Occasionally they just go back and forth between games. So I don't get this. Also, you would be immediately disqualified. I can't believe how often you go to the bathroom. Forget even number one. Number two, you've often said you just don't have any control over it. Like, your body just does exactly what it wants.
It hits a button, and you got to go. I've trained it not to go during certain segments, but, like, I have had to run for the hills. Matter of fact, I set up my home studio. I am staring at my bathroom sink right now. I could get there in between this next sound check cut and back. That's how often
important.
I go.
You'll never do red zone because of that. Immediately DQ.
Never, ever, ever. I couldn't handle it.
Jameis Winston was on Fox News and was asked about being replaced by Tom Brady by the Buccaneers.
One thing about Tom Brady is it's understood that he is the GOAT. And for you to get replaced by Tom Brady in a city that you love so much, I guess that's kudos to me. But at the end of the day, it's a competitive sport. We all in the business. So I'm excited for whatever opportunity it may hold. And eventually, I'm going to have to play the Tom Brady's, the Patrick Mahomes, and all the other great quarterbacks eventually. So that's how you win Super Bowls, and that's what I want.
I guess kudos to me. That's a great quote. I need that on a T-shirt. Can somebody please make this T-shirt for me? Kudos to me. I guess kudos to me. I got replaced. I guess kudos to me. So by being replaced by Tom Brady, kudos to Jameis Winston. I forget who Joe Montana replaced in Kansas City. I think it might have been Steve DeBerg or Dave Craig. I don't know if they would be like, yeah, you know what? Kudos to me. I got replaced by Joe Montana. I mean, kudos to me. That's the best Jameis Winston quote ever.
Kudos to me.
That goes right up there with Let's Eat a W.
Let's eat one. That's a W.
And here is Bruce Bochy. Could he imagine managing meaningful games in front of no fans? This is courtesy of MLB Network Radio.
No, I couldn't. I mean, that would be really, really strange, and because it's like any sport, basketball, football. I mean, the fans are. I mean, they're part of the game, part of your team. If you're at home, so it would be hard to imagine. But with that said, sometimes you don't have some great choices. And a lot of decisions, and you got to go with the best one. If that's playing with no fans, I guess so be it. If you're going to try to save the season and maybe give the baseball fans something to look forward to doing through these tough times.
Bruce Bochy just sounds like a Disney movies baseball manager. It's going to be tough times. But we're going to give these fans something to look forward to. I'll be outside of my backyard working on my fence posts, and then we'll be managing a game. But I wouldn't usually like to do that in front of no fans. He kind of sounds like the manager from Major League.
He does. I would also say that he would never let Chet Steadman pitch in back-to-back games.
No,
or allow Henry Rowan Gardner to get out of the ninth
Never.
inning of a championship game with trick plays.
If Rowan Gardner loses it on the mound, Bruce Bochy is immediately going out there to check on him. What's going on? What's going on? It looks like you lost it, kid. Get over there. Wipe that snot off your nose. We're going to put in a real man here. All right, that is your sound check. Andrew Bogish, he's standing by. He has our headline this morning. Good morning, Bogues.
Good morning again. Can I just ask a Jameis question? Does he think the Bucs only replaced him because they had a chance to get Tom Brady, or did he forget that Bruce Arians had a list of like 7 guys he was willing to bring in? Like Jameis was out no matter what.
Yeah, like if they would have signed Teddy Bridgewater, was he going to say, well, you know what? We signed Teddy Kudos to me. I got replaced by Teddy Bridgewater.
Kudos to me.
Amazing.
Kudos to me.
But you know what? I would probably spin it that way, too, if I was him, so I can't bash him too much.
Well, why don't we all do that? Once Entercom replaces all of us, we're like, hey, kudos to us. We got replaced by this other show. It's a great show. They're going to do really well. But, kudos to us. That just means we must have been awesome. It took a really awesome show to replace us.
Yeah, exactly. Here are your headlines, sponsored by Geico. Whether you rent or own, Geico makes it easy to bundle home and auto insurance. Having a home is hard work, so get a quote at geico.com. Easy. We heard NBA Commissioner Adam Silver say earlier this week his league is making fewer projections for resuming its season these days because the future is so uncertain. LeBron said last night he needs to finish this year somehow. He needs closure on a surprisingly good run.
I honestly didn't think that we would be able to come together as fast as we did, just having the whole new system, having so many new players, having so many new pieces, and how we would be able to come together. I thought it would take us a lot longer than it did, but I was wrong. I was very wrong about that. We was able to click.
The Bulls, meanwhile, making over their front office during the suspended season. President John Paxson has been in charge since 2003. He and GM Gar Hurd are losing their power. The Bulls reportedly hiring Nuggets GM Arturas Karnisovas after a second interview with him yesterday. He will oversee everything and will eventually hire a new GM. The NFL now calling it a draft-a-thon. The league will raise money and honor the heroes of the coronavirus fight during the draft later this month. The money raised will go to multiple charities, including the Red Cross, Feed America, and the United Way.
So how are they going to do this? As we watch the draft, they're going to have a telethon going on where we can call in during the Jaguars' second-round pick and donate?
I guess, right? It'd be great if you could almost do bets on things that are going to happen during the draft and somehow I'll pay me $5 for somebody to be in sweatpants or show me this behind Jason Light. I'll give you $7.
I'd like to know how this telethon is going. Is Rich Eisen going to be doing some type of game show on the side to try to raise money with ringing phones?
It better have a huge tote board. That's all I care about.
The Ravens' fourth-round pick. Okay, I'm interested to see how this goes.
The NCAA has a new option for deciding punishment for misbehaving schools. NC State is choosing that new route as it fights accusations a former assistant coach arranged a $40,000 payment for Dennis Smith Jr.'s family a few years ago. The Wolfpack don't believe they'd get a fair shake from the old Committee on Infractions. This new panel is made up of people independent of the NCAA and its schools. It has to accept NC State's request to hear its case. Texas A&M Chancellor John Sharp said yesterday SEC and NCAA officials think they can play a full 13-game football season if that season doesn't start until October. DA, back to you.
Appreciate it, Bogues. When we come back here on the show, this date in mothership history. DA, CBS Sports Radio.
This is CBS.
It's the DA Show on CBS Sports Radio.
Our toll-free line, 855-212-4227, sponsored by Geico. Whether you own or rent, Geico makes it easy to bundle home and auto insurance. Having a home, that's hard work. Get a quote at geico.com. That's easy. The DA Show available on YouTube in video form. So go there and watch the best of clips every single day. We're still posting as many clips as possible. Also, we are posting the best of rants, interviews, and classic moments. They're all on YouTube. Watch them there. Just go to the CBS Sports Radio Twitter handle. This should be the start of baseball season. We should be a couple of weeks into the baseball season. And we should have at this point in time the first of many rants of Mraz trashing his Yankees, specifically Giancarlo Stanton. We know this because it happens every single year. On this date in mothership history, let's listen to one of those from 2 years ago.
Round one, come on, step inside. It's this date in mothership history.
April 9th, 2018, Mraz tears into Giancarlo just games into the season.
How many more times will Giancarlo Stanton strike out 5 times? Because yesterday he struck out 5 times, just like in the home opener when he was booed. And yesterday, and along with that, 2 other outs. He was 0 for 7 with 5 Ks. Boys, cue the music. Mraz, I will give you the floor right now. What is your emotional panic level at 5-5 on April the 9th?
I'm pressing the button. I am pressing the panic button. Number one, You and every listener here owes me an apology. Oh, how piggish he was to boo Stanton on opening day when that's all anybody's doing now. I was just ahead of the train. If the season ended today, they wouldn't even be in the playoffs, and they're going up to Fenway this week to get their clocks cleaned.
Well, if the season ended today, it's April 9th.
I understand that, but these games count just as much as they do in September. Do you know how hard it is to go 0 for 7 with 5 strikeouts in one game? By the way, not facing Nolan Ryan either with those strikeouts, facing the Baltimore Orioles and a starting pitcher that got pulled in the first inning. They faced the whole bullpen yesterday. Let the Orioles just come into Yankee Stadium and do what they want with them. The Yankees were up 5-0 yesterday, collapsed, and then could do nothing between that dope Judge with his gap and Stanton, who came here. Oh, I want to call my shots. I don't want to go to the Giants. I want to go to the Cardinals. Derek Jeter's going to trade me where I want, and I want to be in New York. Well, you suck, Stanton. Now you suck. And I don't care. I don't want to hear that. He was the National League MVP.
Well, he was.
That he's hit 1 million home runs in his career.
Well, he has.
I don't care that he hit 2 home runs versus the Blue Jays now 2 weeks ago. It doesn't mean anything if you're striking out 50 million times. You realize how many at-bats he's had? He hasn't rested a game yet, and he has struck out 47% of his at-bats. Almost half the time he comes up, he has struck out. And if one more moron on Twitter goes, well, you got Stanton, when the strikeouts come with the territory. This many come with the territory? Think about it. We were just about Jim Grunting Shaw, who was born in 1893. That man pitched 11 years in the major leagues, and not once during the time he was pitching did an idiot come to plate twice in one season and go hitless with 5 strikeouts. First time in Major League history. So don't tell me this comes with the territory when the guy is historically awful. Awful. And now we're faced with the reality that he might be the next Pablo Sandoval or maybe the next Jason Bay, the next guy with a big deal that goes to a new team and just absolutely stinks, and the Yankees are stuck with that contract, all because they missed out on Ohtani, who's become Babe freaking Ruth.
Wow, you're going to put Giancarlo Stanton into Pablo Sandoval and Jason Bay category?
If it's not reality, because who knows, Stanton could turn it around, it's at least on the table. And this isn't me trying to be hot take McGee over here. Nobody ever has gone hitless with 5 strikeouts twice in 1 year. It's April 9th. He's already done it twice. And if another thing when I make this argument, well, it's cold out at Yankee Stadium. He played in Miami. Manny Machado hit 2 bombs into another borough on Friday night in that same cold weather. And Stanton is doing nothing, absolutely nothing. But you can't boo him because he hit 2 home runs versus the Blue Jays on opening day. Enough. Rip that face guard off so you can see the ball better and start swinging the bat. What a waste this was. The Marlins and Jeter and everybody said, oh, well, look, the Yankees took advantage of the poor Marlins. Jeter fleeced the Yankees. Fleeced them. Because now they're stuck with this contract. They probably out of the Bryce Harper sweepstakes with a guy who strikes out 50% of the times up and can't get a big hit. Can we just sit Stanton, put him on the bench, enough, 1 game, let him clear his head? Because clearly he doesn't know what the heck he's doing.
He gets a lot of games to clear his head because he's never actually on the field. That was from 2 years ago. This date in Mothership history, Mraz, you must feel very vindicated after that rant.
I do. Everybody laughed at me. Oh, you're an idiot for booing him. Here we are 2 years later, and I couldn't be more right. And ironically, the guy has never been more healthy as we can't play games during a pandemic. It's unbelievable.
Although I will say, you said this dope Judge with his gap. Isn't Aaron Judge like your favorite player?
He is. That was probably a regrettable term. But I was unhinged. That was a rough, cold opening day I was at where nobody was hitting. It's ridiculous.
Aaron Judge. This dope Judge with his gap. Meantime, he's the most popular player on the Yankees, and Mraz owns 3 of his jerseys.
And by the way, it's sad that I have to always preface something with saying I'm not trying to be hot take McGee. Here we are.
I was going to say, you've really built up this reputation as a guy that's unhinged, has a hot take, and people don't really know if you could be that emotional about that.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. You're like no Skip Bayless, like no Skip the buffet line.
No, exactly. I'm not skipping any of it. But listen, I was right. I was right about Stanton. When I'm right, I'm right.
When we come back here on the show, Jameis Winston's out of a job. Kudos to him. Could he actually fit, though, with the Pittsburgh Steelers and be the heir apparent to Ben Roethlisberger within that organization? At least one Super Bowl quarterback says yes. We'll do that coming up here next. DA, CBS Sports Radio.
Kudos to me. Kudos to me. Kudos to me. Kudos to me. kudos to me.